computer. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitanjena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Vipa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So as I said, we are beginning with chapter 9 today of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And this chapter has a special place in the hearts of the bhaktas, of the devotees, because as I mentioned, it's one of only 2 chapters in Bhagavad Gita which are dealing exclusively with devotion, which are really focusing in on devotion. You know, generally the instructions in Bhagavad Gita, they're somewhat mixed. You know, they're sometimes giving instructions in line with the ascending path of progress, Aroha Panta, you know, which includes yoga, meditation, where the emphasis is on making progress through our own effort, our own endeavor, by achieving liberation on our own strength. Cal joins through Meetup. We have a few Meetup friends here today. So Bhagavad Gita is somewhat mixed in that sense. It's giving instructions on both sides. But chapter 9, which we've just come to, and also chapter 12, they are focusing in on the practice of devotion, bhakti, exclusively. So we're very, very happy to come to this chapter. And in this chapter 9, there are some very important verses which will be coming up. So there will be much to discuss. Some very important and widely discussed verses will be coming up in our reading of this chapter. Not so long, it's only 34 verses, but much to say. So before we dive in, does anyone want to put anything out there? Any announcements, shares, reflections before we dive in? And welcome Jayadev. I saw Jayadev enter, now he's disappeared. Well, not sure what happened. Oh, here's Jayadev, and also Steve has joined us. Okay, well, maybe we'll just dive in then. So let's chant. I was reflecting the other day that it is nice to get a good chunk of the Sanskrit at once so we can enter into this flow. So maybe we can chant the first 10 verses together. Okay, so we're going to chant verses 1 to 10. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha idam tu te guyatamam pravakshamyanusuyave yanam vijnana sahitam yajgatva mokshase shubhat raja vidya raja guyam pavitramidamuttamam pratyakshavagamam dharmyam susukam kartamavyayam ashadadana purusha dharmasyasya parantapa aprapya mam nivartante mrityu samsara vartmani maya tatam idam sarvam jagadavyaktamurtina matstani sarvabhutani nachaham teshvatastita nachamatstani bhutani pashyame yogamaishwaram Bhutabhirnacha bhutasto mamatma bhuva bhavanaha yata kasha stito nityam vayu sarva chago mahan tata sarvani bhutani matsta nityupadaraya sarva bhutani kunteya prakritim yanti mamikam kalpakshaye punastani kalpado vishajamyaham prakritim samavastabhya Vishejami puna punaha Uttagramami mam kritsnam Avasham prakrite vashat Nachamam tani karmani Nibadnanti dhananjaya Udasina vadasinam Asaktam deshu karmasu Mayadhyakshena prakriti Suyate sacharacharam Etu nanena kunteya Jagadvipadi vartate. Okay, well, let's go to those translations. Chinmoy Prabhu, do you want to read those translations for us?
The Supreme Lord said, I now reveal to you who are without envy this most hidden treasure of knowledge of pure devotion. With direct realization of me, knowing which you will be liberated from inauspiciousness, from all that is opposed to devotion. Know this to be the King of secrets, the King of knowledge, supreme, pure, and imperishable. It is known by direct realization, by one eager to serve me. It is the perfection of religion and very easy to practice. O conqueror of the enemy, men who have no faith in this hidden treasure of devotion to me are unable to reach me, and so they remain wandering on the path of death in the mortal world. This entire universe is pervaded by me in my unmanifest form, and all beings are situated in me, yet I am not in them. Again, they are not in me. Behold my supreme mystical power of inconceivable oneness and difference. Achintya Beda Beda. I myself am the mainstay and origin of all beings, but I am not in them. Know that as the mighty wind blowing everywhere rests always in the sky, similarly, all beings rest in me. O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, all beings are merged in the material nature of three modes, which is my external potency. And at the beginning of a new millennium, I make them manifest again. I control my potency of material nature to repeatedly manifest the multitude of beings who are helplessly controlled by their natures. O conqueror of wealth, I remain detached and situated as neutral in the cosmic manifestation, sustenance, and withdrawal, and these functions cannot bind me. O Kanteya, ordained by me, my illusory potency produces this universe of moving and stationary beings. Thus it is manifest over and over again.
Hey, great. Thank you, Chinmoy Prabhu. Does anyone want to share any thoughts, reflections on what we've just heard? So this first verse is quite loaded. There's a lot here in this first verse. First of all, this word, this guyatamam, is referring to something that is hidden. And so this brings us to the particular title, the title of this particular edition. The title that was chosen by our guru is The Hidden Treasure of the Sweet Absolutes. This is bhakti. This is the path of devotion. This is also indicating prema, divine love, as the highest goal of life, the pancham purushartha, beyond the goals commonly discussed in the Vedas of dharma, artha, kama, moksha, conventional piety, religion, wealth, sense pleasure, and liberation. So generally, because generally the Vedas, they are accommodating with persons' mundane desires. Or in a broader sense, they're accommodating the selfishness of the conditioned souls in this world, which is either expressed as the desire for bhukti, mundane enjoyment, or mukti, to be free from the consequences of your enjoyment. They're just two sides of the same coin. So generally the Vedas, they're giving a mixed up version of religion because they're trying to accommodate mixed up persons. But so for this reason, the path of bhakti and its superiority is a little hidden because most persons are not ready for that. It is a curious thing because it is the most simple in a sense from one perspective. There's no difficult, elaborate rituals or extreme sense control or, austerities or asanas, those things are not involved. So in that sense, it is more simple than other practices, but it is also the most elevated at the same time. This is the curious nature of it. And for this reason, there are many generic kind of scholars who will diss bhakti. Oh, bhakti is for the ignorant people. Bhakti is for the people who can't hack renunciation. It's for them. So there's the scholars, there's a tendency for them to see bhakti like that. But although from one perspective it is the most simple, it is also the highest. This is being expressed in this first verse of this 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and discussed more in the following verse too. So hidden, in that sense, the path of devotion is something that is hidden, this hidden treasure of the Vedas. And then this 3rd verse of Srimad Bhagavatam is also presenting this idea. We were discussing this not too long ago. This verse where the gift of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is Krishna Prema, divine love, is compared to the sweet ripened fruits on the tree of the Vedas. This Nigama Kalpa Tarur Galitam Phalam Shuka Mukha Amrita Dravya Samyutam. Where this is the real, in other words, this is this gift, this treasure of devotion. It is the real conclusion of the Vedas. It is the real final gift of the Vedas. This is the real purpose of the Vedas. The gift of divine love, as presented in Srimad Bhagavatam, that's fulfilling the original purpose of all the Vedic scriptures. But it can be seen as somewhat hidden, because most persons, they're not ready for that. Because what is the fundamental thing required here in this path? To give up the disease of selfishness, which is our fundamental problem in this world. And so if you immediately tell people you need to give up selfishness and just surrender, then they won't listen to you at all. They'll just close the door on you. They won't give you the time of day. So then the Vedas have this whole elaborate, convoluted system, to get you in the door, get you on the ladder by some means or another. But this is where it's all leading you to the simple and sweet conclusion. Everything is for him, Krishna Santosh, everything is for Krishna's satisfaction. That is the simple and sweet truth, highest truth. And then another very interesting word that's used in this first verse, anusuyave, means who is without envy. And this also ties in with what we were just saying about the disease of selfishness. You will only be able to appreciate this treasure of devotion if you are free from the spirit of selfishness, if you are free from envy, and if you are ready to put Krishna at the center, to put the devotees at the center, to put others in the center, to accept that you're not the main character, you have a supporting role here. So you will only be able to accept this truth and embrace this truth if you're free from the spirit of envy. Because normally, consciously or unconsciously, we all have this chip on our shoulder, that we want to be in the center, we want to be number one, we want to be acknowledged as superior to others in some way or another. And we're upset if that is not the case, We hear somebody else being glorified and we think, oh, what about me? What about my glories? What about the things that I did? And this is also discussed at the very outset of Srimad Bhagavatam, right? In the very 2nd verse, this is mentioned. Dharma projita kaitavotra padamo nirmat saranam satam. That this Srimad Bhagavatam, so Veda Vyas, he's saying indirectly that in all the other texts that I previously put forward, there's some cheating going on. This Kaitava Dharma. Kaitava is cheating. Kaitava Dharma, cheating religion. All because they're mixed with these worldly ideals of Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. So, but this book, this is like his introduction. It's the very second verse of the 18,000 verse Srimad Bhagavatam. He begins like, this is his introduction. You won't find that in the pages of this book. Now, Dharma projita, pro-ujita means totally rejecting that from this book. Dharma projita kaitava. This kaitava dharma is being rejected. You won't find that here. And who will be able to appreciate this? Who will be able to hear this message? Those who are near matsar, near matsaranam satam. Matsar means envy. It is another, here this word. Anasuyave means one who is without envy. Then suyave is perhaps the word envy. It's another word for envy, matsar. So near matsar means one who has no envy. So here, right from the very beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, Vedavyasa is announcing this. You will only be able to hear the message of this highest text if you are free from envy. Because normally envy creates these filters, right? We're filtering everything in the environment through the filters of our selfish interest. Then we cannot see things properly. Everything is colored by our individual interest. And of course that changes, right? In every birth that we take. I mean, if you really think about it, it's a joke, because what is important in one particular birth, in one species of life, in one plane of life, may be completely different in your next birth. So, the whole thing is really meaningless when we really have a clear view of the thing. So normally these filters of our selfish interest, they're distorting our view of the environment, and we're perceiving everything according to our particular set of filters. Then we cannot see what is the clear truth. Our vision is clouded, right? So only when we set these selfish filters aside, we set aside the spirit of envy, we set aside that need to be in the center, that need to be number one, will we be able to not only perceive, but also embrace this highest reality, the search for Sri Krishna, reality, the beautiful. This is what is so wonderful. It's not like there's a cover up of some ugly truth, right? Like there's going to be an expose of like the dark side, but it's reality, the beautiful. It's so much better than if you were number one. Like, thank God. So it's not the dark, like some Matrix storyline, like there's a dark, ugly truth, but no, it's reality, the beautiful, and there's this beautiful symphony, this beautiful harmony that's playing. And do you want to join that? Or I was thinking the other day how, we all have some experience of joy and happiness in different ways in this world, right? But it is like, I was thinking, it's like when you're off in a corner playing some music to yourself, right? Okay, there's something there. But if you're joining like this huge, glorious symphony with so many glorious, talented musicians, and it's going to be a world of difference. So it is like that. Do you want to join the universal flow, the universal dance, or do you want to be off in a corner somewhere playing your music to yourself? So this is the prerequisite, and it's a very important point, on the whole, in the practice of Krishna consciousness, to give up the spirit of envy. And that's on the negative side, right? But what's on the positive side? To enter into the culture of appreciation of others. This, you could say from one perspective, this is what Krishna consciousness is. It's a culture of appreciation. appreciating, acknowledging, glorifying the qualities of others, beginning with the Lord and his beloved, devotees, the saints, and all extending outwards. This is very intrinsic to maintaining a progressive nature in our practicing lives. We can avoid going down by not criticizing or not being envious of others. But we can actually make progress. We can actually go forward by entering into the culture of appreciation of others. Putting the spotlight on others, putting others before ourselves. And the more one becomes advanced in their Vaishnavata, in their Vaishnava quality, the more one will find that tendency within them. The Vaishnavas, this is one of the hallmarks. This is one of the ways by which you can recognize who is an authentic Vaishnava. They have this broadness of heart, where they are happy and eager to glorify others. There's not that meanness that we generally find in the world, miserliness, right? But there's an eagerness to, not only appreciate the qualities of others, but even to amplify, or to, to see more than there is, or to see the potential, and that was something that we experienced in our Gurudev so much. And sometimes it would be embarrassing for devotees, how can you say this? I know what I am. It could be highly embarrassing to receive that type of praise. But that is their nature. Goswami Maharaj, one of our sannyasis, he mentioned once that, once he received this letter of extreme praise from our Gurudev, Srila Govinda Maharaj, and Goswami Maharaj was, puzzled, embarrassed, to receive that. And later he questioned our Guru, how can you say these things? And, this doesn't make sense. And our Gurudev said, I'm not saying this in some arbitrary way, but, actually, if we can see that someone else has received the grace of Mahaprabhu, then we must acknowledge that. We must acknowledge that. If we also want to receive the grace of Mahaprabhu, how can we expect to receive the grace of Mahaprabhu if we're not able to appreciate those who've already received it? This was his genuine, heartfelt feeling. And, sometimes our Gurudev could say some very extreme things. He would refer to someone performing divine service and, so many things, he would say. And his appreciation, his genuine, again, not something fake, but really coming from the heart, putting the spotlight on the qualities of the devotees. So this is one of the hallmarks of the genuine Vaishnavas, that they have this tendency, this nature to appreciate, to glorify. We're not afraid to glorify others. And we're not going to lose, right? We're not going to lose anything. Because sometimes there may be that feeling, right? Oh, if I emphasize someone else too much, then I'm going to diminish my own position. But actually, this is one of the trade secrets of Vaishnavism. Srila Sridhar Maharaj has mentioned this, that by giving position to others, we actually gain position. We don't lose. We gain ourselves. Our wealth will increase by giving honor, appreciation, and position to others. This is the fact. So this is very fundamental to the practice of Krishna consciousness. And you see how much it is so, because Krishna has mentioned this right at the beginning of this chapter. This chapter is the treasure of devotion, right? The hidden treasure of devotion. Right from the outset, in the very first line, he's mentioning that. Why are you qualified to hear this hidden treasure? Because you are free from envy. You are free from envy. then you are qualified. And sometimes this is a point that our Gurudev Srila Govinda Maharaj would discuss. Like sometimes I heard him speak of it as like the defining quality of a genuine devotee. Or what would separate like the real devotees from the imitation devotees. One time he was speaking about one devotee in our Mat, our temple in India, and glorifying him he spoke so many wonderful things about him, and he said something like, there's a recording, I think it was this Ajita Krishna Brahmachari, Chinmoy Prabhu, I'm sure you're familiar with that talk. It's on our Mat. I can't remember his name, maybe Ajita Krishna Brahmachari. But our Gurudev gave a whole talk about him, and then he was he was glorifying him so much, and then he compared him. He said, like, I've never seen another devotee like him. And then he said, except for maybe, then he mentioned someone else, and then he said, but I don't know how much he was non-envious, like compared to the first devotee he'd been glorifying. Like this was what really made him really solid, that he was free from envy, completely free from envy. So, and we could also say, someone may know so much, right? Someone may have so much knowledge in Krishna consciousness and the scriptures. Someone may be very, very proficient in being able to do and perform so many practices. But if they don't have this quality, this depth of the heart, then they don't have that much. And on the other hand, someone may not know so much, but they may not be so skilled, so to speak, but they have this quality of the heart. And one of the persons who I think of in this regard is Yudamanyu Prabhu. That of course he was a very qualified preacher, but his preaching was a little more on the simple side. It's not like he would quote so many verses from the scriptures, but he had an extraordinary quality of heart, and he was someone who would glorify in a way which I was quite rare, which you perhaps more than almost anyone else I've known, other than our Gurudev, of course. And there was one time when I was a teenager, and this was before I went to live in India, and I sent him, and he was and so because of his quality of heart, he was an amazing preacher, and he opened a center for our mission in South Africa. He was one of the founders of our first mission in America, in California. And then not only that, but he went on to begin a mission in China, of all places. He was really an empowered being. But this one time when he was in China, and I was like, I don't know, maybe 17 years old or something. And I had a part-time job, and I was so inspired by what he was doing in China. So I sent him a donation. It wasn't very much. It was maybe like 50 pounds or something like that. And he sent me this extraordinary letter, saying like, I've been in China for the last 10 years and you've done more service than me in all that time. This money that you sent has been so useful. And it was just like bewildering for me how he was able to say such things. Like, it made no logical sense. But this was his genuine heart feeling, like totally setting his own position aside. He was just like full on putting the spotlight on my little tiny puny offering, So this is the feeling of the Vaishnavas. This non-enviousness and spirit of appreciation. So this is mentioned here in the first verse. Does anyone else want to add any thoughts to our discussion? Chinmoy Prabhu?
This envy, this could also be directed towards God, right? It seems like some of the spiritualists, they want to become God. So
Yeah, absolutely. That's an expression of envy, you know, that, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he speaks of that point in this way, no taxation without representation. That, that we won't admit that there's a God unless we're also God. Unless we're also a part of that. Then we will say, yes, there's a God, as long as we're also God. So yes, that is also an expression of envy. We're not able to acknowledge the existence of a supreme entity. And we want that position for ourselves. So yes, absolutely. Yes. It's something that pervades our consciousness in many different ways. It expresses itself in many different ways. Radhana Rupini, did you want to say something?
You said that we have to give up selfishness and we have to free ourselves from the spirit of envy to be able to hear this knowledge. So maybe you can explain how we can do that.
Well, this is all what we're doing, right? This is the process of Sharanagati, right? The process of surrender. By offering ourselves to the higher, right? Wow, look who's there. Priyahita, wow. Amazing. Dandavad, great to see you. What a surprise. Priyahita's in the San Luis Obispo area, and she hosted us in her home just a few weeks ago. Very nice to see. And welcome also to the others who joined a bit later, Suvasini, Didi, and perhaps one or two others. Well, this is the thing, right? That we have our own particular set, our own particular mindset and our own particular assortment of mundane limitations, right? And then we are approaching the higher plane. We are approaching the higher entity, Guru, the higher Vaishnavas, the Lord. And we are following their instruction, with faith. And there's something happening in that transaction. By offering our energy to that higher plane, then there's purification that's taking place. There's this wonderful expression of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. He says, to offer this mad concocted self to Krishna. He says, it is very wonderful. You will be saved. You will be saved. And this is why it is so crucial that we actually have a genuine agent of divinity to whom we are offering our heart, our service, our cultivation. Because there, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he uses these terms, opaque and transparent gurus, right? And the opaque guru is keeping everything for themselves. It's not going through, not going past them, right? But the transparent guru is a via media, and whatever you're offering is being offered to their guru and going to Shri Radha Krishna Mahaprabhu. So then in that transaction, we are receiving their grace, by adhering to their divine will. Then we are inviting their grace, and of course the highest and most powerful expression of that is when we consciously don't want to surrender to their will, right? Let's say, for example, Trinada pisu nichena, Tudoriva sahishnuna, Amanina manadena, Kirtaniya sadahadi, right? Humility, tolerance, and respect. So we're faced in some particular situation, and our tendency is to react according to our mundane ego, right? But we're not going to follow our mundane ego. We're not going to follow the impulse of our mind. But we are going to surrender to that higher will. Oh, my guru asked me to be humble. My guru asked me to practice tolerance. Then I'm going to do so. Even though my own ego, my own mind wants me to do something else. Then in that moment, if we're able to surrender to that higher will, that is very powerful, because then there's some crust that will begin to crack there. Or perhaps we're confronted with someone, some practitioner, some devotee, and we know they did this bad thing and they did that bad thing. And our tendency may be to disrespect them in some way. But we're thinking, no, this would not be my guru's desire. No, my guru, this devotee has offered service in some way. They're also trying to serve Krishna in their own way. Then I'm going to give some degree of honor, some honor to them in accordance with my guru, even though it's not what I would want to do as my own person. Those moments are so powerful when these two things come and directly confront each other. What I want and what my guru wants. Then it's very powerful. Then there's some breaking of the crust, right? And this is why it's so important to keep some connection with the service current, to keep some connection with the devotees. Because then you're giving Krishna an opening. You're giving Krishna an opening. I'll share a personal example. I'm going to Portugal next week, and I'm going to visit my father. But I was also thinking, oh, wow, maybe I can have a little bit of a holiday. I'll go explore Lisbon, have fun in Lisbon, go to some pastry shops or something, And then I suddenly get these messages. Oh, this devotee is here, and there are all these devotees in the area. They want me to visit. And I thought to myself, and just last week, this one Ukrainian devotee just totally randomly joined my Zoom. I haven't seen her in 4 years. She just suddenly joined my Zoom a few days ago. And I said, oh, amazing to see you. Where are you? I'm in Portugal. Oh, I'm going to Portugal next week. Please visit me. Like, wow. So I'm just reflecting, like, how fortunate I am that, even though my mind may take me in so many places, I might want to go visit an art gallery or check out the pastry shops, And I was like, no, there's this devotee here in this town, and this devotee in that town, and this devotee in that town, and they all want me to visit. And now I barely have time to visit my poor father, So I was just reflecting, right? Because I'm connected with that service current in some way, because I'm connected with the community of devotees, then Krishna is taking care of me. Gurudev's taking care of me and always giving me service. Like, I can't get away from it. There's always service. And so what am I going to do? I'm not going to say, like, forget all of you. I'm going to have a holiday. No, I'm going with the program. I'm going to get with the program. So in the same way, like, our tendencies for various expressions of ego or mundane desire, they may go along different tracks. But if Krishna is coming and say, no, this is what you want to do, or the voice of our guru, the voice of the scripture is saying, no, this is what you're supposed to do, then we're going to say, okay, I'm going to cooperate. I'm just going to cooperate. I want to slap this person right now. Do you know what they did to me? But I'm going to cooperate with Krishna's instruction in Bhagavad Gita. I'm going to cooperate with Mahaprabhu's instruction in the Shikshashtakam. Then that's a very powerful moment. Because what happens when you do that? Then you shed
ego. You shed a layer of ego, or you shed some margin of one layer of ego, something. Right? So Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, what is seva? What is the real meaning of service? He says seva means death. Right? This is the meaning of die to live. That I'm putting my own desires into the fire, and I'm going to follow your will. You know, tomar ichai mor ichami shaila bhakti vinod aj apane bulila. This is Bhaktivinoda Thakur's expression in Sharanagati, which Srila Sridhar Maharaj cites as the source of this die to live expression. That what is Bhaktivinoda saying? That tomar ichai mor ichami, your desires, I'm now merging my desires with your desires. Your desires are merging with my desires. Bhakti vinod aj apane bulila means today, aj, Bhakti vinod apane bulila is forgetting himself. I'm forgetting myself. No, my mind, my ego, or my senses, they want to react in this way. They want to do this and they want to do that. But I'm remembering what is the word of sadhu and shastra, and I'm going to follow that. That's a very powerful moment. That's when that's death. You're dying. It can be painful. It can be very painful. It can be very painful. So die to live. So really all we have to do is try and cooperate, you know, just go on day by day. And in those daily moments, we're trying to cooperate with the higher word, with the higher version. And that's a very powerful thing to do. And then one day, you know, we'll wake up, we'll be surprised. Wow, I'm another person. Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he quotes this one English, I don't remember who it was some famous English writer. And he was like some obscure writer. And then there was one particular thing that he wrote, it suddenly made him very famous. And he wrote this line saying, I woke up one morning and found that I was famous. And so Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, similarly, that feeling may come to us. Like, I woke up one day and found I was in Vrindavan. You know, like suddenly this wholesale transformation has taken place. You know? And we may experience that sometimes, you know, that we've struggled with something. And then one day, years later down the road, wow, that doesn't bother me anymore. You know, that doesn't trouble me anymore. Before that particular, sorry, Gangalila, I did see in the chat, I'm just yakking. I'll just finish my flow. So, you know, that particular situation used to bother me so much. And then a year, 2 years later, to our surprise, it resurfaces. Wow, it doesn't bother me anymore. I've got bigger problems now. I've got other things to deal with now. Or I'm more attracted to something beautiful. I've got my own thing going on. It doesn't bother me anymore. So yeah, and just that's what I want to say, you know, in regards to that point, that we want to cooperate with the higher word, you know, confront, and this is the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, right? That Arjuna's crying, putting down his weapons, and oh, Krishna, what about this? And what about that? And this person and that person, how am I going to do this? And you know, and he goes on like this. And then at the end of all that, he says, you know what, Krishna, I'm surrendering to you. What do you think? I've said what I think, but I want to follow your higher calculation about the environment. With my limited mind and understanding and powers of perception, this is the conclusion I've come to. But I want to know what you think, and I want to follow that, Krishna. This is surrender, and this is very powerful. And then by following that higher version, we will be purified and we will grow. Sorry, Ganga Leela has been waiting very patiently. how can I be sure it's not my desire? Sorry, what do you mean by that? I don't know.
Well, I meant like, how can I be sure it's not my desire, but Krishna's desire? Like, how is it's this is for me, I feel like, okay, it's an invitation to really look deeply at is that it's like a hidden, am I hiding that it is still my desire? If I feel like, oh, I'm so called to do such and such thing, does that mean that's Krishna's will? Is that how I'm supposed to serve? Or is that still me and my desire as the person,
Well,
that's what I'm trying to say.
right. Well, it's a very good point. And
how can I be clear?
Well, first of all, the prerequisite to all this is that we are sincere. Because, Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita, right? Yeya tamam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajamyaham. Right? As someone approaches me, so I approach them. That means if you're approaching Krishna with sincerity, Krishna will show you the genuine path. But on the other hand, he's also saying, if you approach me with insincerity, I will reciprocate in that way. In other words, if you want to be cheated, I will cheat you because you wanted to be cheated. I'm giving you what you want, So the prerequisite for this whole conversation is that we are sincere, that we don't want to delude ourselves, that we genuinely want to follow that higher will. And then in that case, even if we make a mistake, because we were sincere, then later the truth will be made clear to us. It won't be held against us, and that clarity will come. So that is a simple answer to your question. Then a more elaborate answer would be that we want to verify our feeling with sources of revealed truth. Right? And there's a verse in Bhagavad Gita, which I often mention, which is very helpful in this regard. Vidvad bi sevita shadbir nityam advesha ragi bi hridya yena byanugyato yodharmastam nibodhataha. And 4 points are, how can you know what is dharma? Right, 4 points are mentioned. No. Vidvad bi means it is told in the scripture. Sevita shadbir. It is also told by the saints who are the living scripture, living shastra, in their words, in their conduct. And then this 3rd point is mentioned, which is very interesting. Nityam advesha ragibi. Means that our decision will not be influenced by these 2 factors in this world, rag and dvesh. Normally, we're dealing with these 2 things. Rag means our attraction to something, and the dvesh means our revulsion, right? Meaning, based around our selfish interest. So it means prejudice. Prejudice based on what's good or bad for us, what we like or dislike. I like this person because they gave me a bonus. I don't like this person because they fired me, right? We're not assessing that person genuinely on their actual worth, but it's all relative to what they did or didn't do for us, right? So your decision must be free. Dandavat Maya, great to see you, and Ananda and Tarit tuning in from London. Dandavat. So your decision must be free from that type of bias, attraction and aversion, this duality of this mundane plane. So it should be disinterested, in the sense of free from bias. And then the 4th is the feeling of the heart. Tridya yena byanugyato. The heart will confirm, the heart knows, that inner intuition, right? So these things are given to us as a means to verify, okay, I'm feeling this in the heart, but is this also what the sadhus are saying? Is this also what the scriptures recommending? Right? Because the problem is that we're in a polluted condition, right? So we cannot always trust what's coming supposedly from our heart or mind, right? Maybe the noise of our ego, as you're pointing out, right? Rightly. So then we will, the voices in my head told me to go and kill everybody. But the scripture doesn't say that. The saints haven't shown that example. So I'm going to put that one away. I'm not going to listen to that one. I'm justifying in my head why I should disregard this person, dishonor this person. I'm making some elaborate justification. Sometimes our minds do this jugglery, right? Intellectual jugglery, where we can justify just about anything. But is that the example that was shown by my guru? Is this been advised in the scripture? And we're so fortunate because in this modern age, we've been blessed with the association of 3 exalted gurus, right? Srila Sridhar Maharaj, Srila Govinda Maharaj, Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada. And it is such a precious thing to be able to reflect on what was their conduct, what were their words, how did they deal with situations? Because the scriptures can be a little bewildering, but to be able to think, oh, and my Gurudev, when he faced this situation, a similar situation, this is how he handled it. We're so privileged, so blessed to have that type of resource. So then we are seeking this confirmation from higher sources. But then even then we may get it wrong, right? We may make mistakes. But that's okay. As I said, if we are sincere, then we will be adjusted. The Lord will adjust us. So, this reassurance is given in Bhagavad Gita. Nahi kalyana krit kaschid dorgatim tatagachati. One who sincerely desires to do good, they must be victorious. Or as Srila Sridhar Maharaj rendered it, sincerity is invincible. Sincerity is invincible. So you may make mistakes, but you will again be set on the right path. And mistakes, they're also all part of the process. As our Gurudev liked to say, failure is the pillar of success. So sometimes we need that actually to become under the influence of our mind and our senses. And then later on, we realize, oh, this is what it was, But in that moment, we needed to go through that. What are your thoughts, Gangalila?
It's I actually even took notes. I'm like, who am I? Now I'm taking notes. I feel like I am more willing to really tap into that sincerity and trust it more. And I feel there's a lot of guidance in what you said. So thank you so much. Like, what would the gurus do? What would the sadhus do? So look at what's really in my heart and also make sure it's in my heart and not in my head. And just kind of be more about feeling than intellect.
And another thing
in my head. Yeah. So the head is oftentimes where we debate, where there is like the what if? And I think if I tap into my sincerity, there is no more what if. Just do it.
Nice. Yeah, we don't need to be afraid of making mistakes. Well, I'm honored by what you said, honored that you took notes. And another thing that I would like to say in this topic is that in certain situations, we may recognize this is the way that I should do it. However, I'm not there yet. This is like the bar's up here and I'm here. I'm not ready for this yet, But what's the important thing? I'm not going to change the bar. I'm not going to lower the bar and put it down here. Okay? I'm going to accept my limitations. And this was something that our dear friend and mentor Shuddha Shabhaprabhu used to say a lot, which I appreciated so much, that we may not be able to follow the ideal, but we won't pollute the ideal. We're not going to change the ideal to suit us. That's when things get dangerous. Say, oh, we're just going to change. I can't follow the rules, so I'm going to change the rules. Or we can come up with all kinds of excuses to justify our behavior. To say, no, like, I'm a brat and I'm just being a brat. Or whatever it is, right? I have these problems and I just can't get free of them right now. This is where I am. I'm not going to go and give a whole philosophical explanation why what I did is actually absolutely the right thing. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to humbly accept this is where I am right now. And I can't live up to that. That is something very authentic. And that was the mood that I feel our Gurudev appreciated. Like just this naked acceptance, this honesty, right? This honesty. There's this one devotee, our Gurudev commented, and then this is someone who is like quite a prominent yogini and does some things a little differently. They're big worshippers of Lord Shiva, very absorbed in yoga, but they surrendered to Gurudev in a very heartfelt mood. And our Gurudev commented about them. This person, this person came with yoga. Okay, Gangalila. See you next time. Thank you for being with us and helping with the hosting, of course. Gurudev mentioned about this person, like they came with yoga, they came with Shiva, and they fully offered themselves. Like, as I am, I'm offering myself. I'm not pretending to be something I'm not, or I'm not waiting until I become something else, but as I am, I'm surrendering to you. And you have to fix me, actually. It's actually down to you. Srila Sridhar Maharaj expresses this very sweet mood in one place, that we can approach the Lord in this hearty spirit. Like, I'm your property. Why aren't you taking care of your property? If there's he said, if there's something wrong with my documents, then please fix them. I belong to you. It's down to you. I'm just a fallen soul. Like, I can't help myself. I'm ignorant. I'm fallen. But you have to fix me. Like, why are you leaving me like this? Don't abandon me. Take care of me. Help me, Lord. I can't do it on my own. This intimate, hearty, close feeling. We may have that towards the Lord and the Vaishnavas. So, well, we've just about come to the end of our time here. Anyone want to share any other thoughts, reflections, or last minute questions, or should we close there?
I just want to, because what you just said reminds me of, Vamshi Das Babaji Maharaj, that one story where somebody was selling fish and he got attracted to the fish or something like that. And then very angrily, he was chastising his deities. Why did you make me get attracted to the fish? I'm your responsibility. Why are you doing this to me?
That's wonderful. I hadn't heard that before. Yes, exactly. That's the mood that Srila Sridhar Maharaj expressed. I'm supposed to be yours. My heart's supposed to be for you. And I'm seeing it going in all these other directions. And I'm not happy about that. I'm not happy about that. Very nice. All right. Should we close there for today? Last words. Well, thank you all so much for your wonderful association. Wishing you a beautiful week ahead and looking forward to the next time. Jai Shri Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Shri Bhakti Dakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Shri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. All the assembled devotees, sincere seekers ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita
Jai.
ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Jai Gaur Premanande. Dibo.
Haribo.
Thank you.
Ravidasi ki jai.
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 Jai.